The space around Earth was quiet and cold. Stars dotted the black sky like tiny diamonds. Then something changed. A ripple moved through space like water disturbed by a stone. Ships began to appear. They were huge. Each one was the size of a city. Dark metal hulls stretched for miles, covered in strange symbols that glowed with red light. Weapon ports lined their sides like angry eyes. There were 200 of them, floating in perfect formation. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the EDS Defiance. He was 50 years old with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been waiting for this day his whole life. Next to him stood Captain Lisa Brooks, a woman with short black hair and sharp green eyes. She watched the alien ships through the big window. "Sir, they're bigger than we thought," said Ryan Clark from his station. He was the tactical officer, young and nervous. His hand shook as he read the computer screens. Amy Johnson sat at the communications desk. She was listening to radio signals from the alien fleet. "Admiral, they're trying to talk to us," she said. Her voice was steady, but her face was pale. Jake nodded. "Put them through." The main screen flickered. A face appeared that made everyone on the bridge step back. It was not human. The creature had scales like a snake, dark green and shiny. Its eyes were yellow with black slits. Sharp teeth filled its mouth. It wore armor that looked like it was made from black metal. "I am War Commander Zethkar of the 4th Conquest Fleet," the alien said. Its voice was deep and rough, like rocks, grinding together. "You will surrender your planet now. Resist, and we will destroy everything that lives on your world." Jake looked at the alien calmly. He had practiced this moment in his mind 1,000 times. "Thank you for the offer, but we'll pass." Zethkar's yellow eyes grew wide. He leaned forward on his command chair. "You do not understand, human. We have conquered 100 worlds. Your ships are toys compared to ours. You have 30 vessels. We have 200. "I can count," Jake said with a small smile. "Is there anything else?" The alien commander looked confused. On his own ship, Sub-Commander Vextal approached him. This creature was smaller but just as frightening, with blue scales and 3 eyes. "Commander, their technology readings are very low," Vextal said. "They barely have space travel. This should be easy." Zethkar nodded, but something felt wrong. In all his years of conquest, no species had ever been so calm when facing his fleet. Usually they begged or cried or tried to bargain. This human just stood there like he was talking about the weather. On Earth, far below the space battle that was about to begin, General Patricia Wells sat in a deep underground room filled with computers and screens. She was a tall woman with silver hair pulled back tight. Her uniform had no wrinkles and her boots were polished to shine. "Dr. Taylor, are all systems ready?" she asked. Dr. Kevin Taylor looked up from his computer station. He was a thin man, with thick glasses and messy brown hair. He had been working on this project for 20 years. "All defense platforms are online and waiting, General. The aliens have no idea what's hidden out there." Patricia nodded. She pressed a button on her desk. "All stations, this is command. Prepare for Protocol 7. Do not activate until my direct order." Across the solar system, things that looked like space rocks or old satellites began to wake up. Deep inside asteroids, weapon systems came online. On the dark side of the moon, huge railguns emerged from hidden bunkers. Near Jupiter, what appeared to be mining stations revealed rows of missile launchers. Back on the Defiance, Jake watched as the alien fleet moved into attack formation. Their ships spread out like a net, ready to catch and destroy anything that tried to escape. "Sir, they're charging weapons," Ryan said. His voice cracked with fear. "I can see that," Jake replied. He seemed as calm as if he were watching a movie. Lisa stepped closer to him. "Jake, are you sure about this? Maybe we should at least try to talk more." Jake turned to look at her. His eyes were not afraid. They were excited. "Lisa, humanity has been preparing for this day since 1947. Every crashed alien ship we found, every piece of strange metal, every weird signal from space. We've been getting ready. They think we're primitive. They think we're weak. They're about to learn how wrong they are. On the alien flagship, Zethkar gave the order. Fire a warning shot. Destroy something they care about. Show them our power. The massive ship's main weapon charged with energy. A beam of pure plasma shot out toward Earth's moon. It hit the surface and exploded in a flash of white light. When the light faded, there was a crater the size of a small country. Pieces of moon rock floated in space like glowing diamonds. There, Zethkar said with satisfaction. Now they will surrender. But Jake Morrison just smiled wider. He turned to Amy at the communication station. Send a message to all ships. Tell them it's time to show our guests what human hospitality really looks like. Amy's fingers flew over her keyboard. Across the human fleet, captains and crews who had trained their whole lives for this moment prepared to fight. But they were not preparing to defend. They were preparing to hunt. In the asteroid belt, Captain Tony Martinez sat in his command, chair aboard the EDS Retribution. His ship looked small and weak compared to the alien vessels, but looks could be deceiving. Tony pressed a button on his armrest. All crew, this is the captain. Remember what we learned in training. The enemy thinks we're afraid. Let's show them what fear really looks like. The Draconian fleet moved forward, confident in their power. 200 ships against 30 seemed like unfair odds. But they were right about that for the wrong reasons. The odds were unfair, but not in the way they thought. As the first alien weapons fired toward the human ships, Jake Morrison spoke quietly to his crew. Gentlemen and ladies, let's give them a proper Earth welcome. The Draconian weapons fired first. Bright beams of plasma energy shot across space toward the human ships. The beams were hot enough to melt steel and strong enough to cut through mountains. Every alien on every ship expected to see the human vessels explode into pieces. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ships began to glow. Blue light covered their hulls like water. The plasma beams hit the ships and simply disappeared. The energy was absorbed completely. Not only did the human ships survive, they looked stronger than before. On the alien flagship, Sub-Commander Vextal stared at his screens in shock. Commander, this cannot be right. Their ships are showing higher energy levels than before we fired. War Commander Zethkar's yellow eyes narrowed. Run the scan again. Your equipment must be broken. But the readings were correct. Captain Tony Martinez smiled on the bridge of the EDS Retribution as his engineer reported the results. Captain, shields are at 120% power, said Lieutenant Dan Foster. The alien weapons are actually making us stronger. Tony nodded. For 50 years, human scientists had worked on adaptive shielding. They had studied every piece of alien technology they could find. The shields did not just block attacks. They turned enemy fire into fuel for human ships. Zethkar ordered his fleet to fire again. This time, all 200 ships shot at once. Space lit up like a fireworks show as thousands of plasma beams struck the human vessels. The result was the same. The human ships glowed brighter. Their energy readings went even higher. This is impossible, Zethkar growled. No primitive species should have this technology. On Earth, Dr. Kevin Taylor watched from his underground command center. General Wells, the aliens are confused. They keep trying the same attacks. General Patricia Wells stood behind him, her hands clasped behind her back. Good. Let them waste their energy. Are our fighters ready? Colonel Davis is standing by, Dr. Taylor replied. High above Earth's atmosphere, Colonel Susan Davis sat in the cockpit of an experimental fighter called the Phoenix. The ship was small compared to the big vessels fighting nearby. It looked almost like a toy next to the massive alien warships. Susan had been waiting for this moment her entire career. She was the best pilot in the Earth Defense Force. She had tested every new technology the humans had developed. Today she would use their most secret weapon. Phoenix to command, she said into her radio. Requesting permission to engage. Admiral, Jake Morrison's voice came through clearly. Permission granted, Colonel. Show them what we can do. Susan pressed a button on her control panel. The Phoenix vanished. 1 second it was there, floating in space. The next second it was gone completely. Even the most advanced Draconian sensors could not detect it. Then the Phoenix appeared right next to a Draconian cruiser. Susan fired her, weapons at point-blank range. The alien ship's shields flickered and failed. Holes appeared in its hull. Before the aliens could react, the Phoenix disappeared again. It reappeared on the other side of the alien formation. Susan fired again, hitting another ship. Then she vanished once more. Zethkar watched in horror as his ships were attacked by something they could not see or track. "What is that thing? How does it move like that?" Vextal worked frantically at his controls. "I cannot lock onto it, Commander. It appears to teleport randomly around the battlefield." But it was not random. Susan was using micro-jump technology. The Phoenix could make tiny jumps through hyperspace, appearing anywhere within a few miles instantly. The Draconian targeting computers were designed to track ships that moved normally through space. They had no idea how to handle something that could disappear and reappear anywhere at any time. More human fighters joined the battle. Each one used the same micro-jump technology. Soon, Draconian ships were being hit from all directions by enemies they could not catch. On Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, Dr. Rachel Thompson worked in a hidden research station. Her job was to coordinate humanity's real surprise. She sat at a computer terminal surrounded by screens showing the entire solar system. "All stations report ready," she said to herself. She had been preparing for this moment for 15 years. Her fingers moved over the keyboard, typing in the activation codes for Protocol 7. Across the asteroid belt, things that looked like mining stations and space rocks began to change. Huge panels slid open. Massive weapons emerged from hidden compartments. What the aliens thought were harmless human mining operations were actually the largest weapons platforms ever built. The first railgun fired from Ceres, the largest asteroid. A solid metal projectile shot through space at incredible speed. It hit a Draconian heavy cruiser and went completely through it. The alien ship split in half and exploded. More railguns fired from other asteroids. Metal projectiles streaked across, space like silver bullets. Each shot could punch through the strongest alien armor. The Draconians had never faced weapons that fired solid objects instead of energy beams. "Commander, we are taking heavy losses," Vextal reported. His scales had turned pale with fear. "These weapons are unlike anything in our database." Zethkar looked at the tactical display. Red dots showed damaged or destroyed ships. There were too many red dots. "How is this possible?" "Our intelligence said they were primitive." On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Morrison watched the battle with satisfaction. "Ryan, what's our ship count?" Ryan Clark checked his screens. "We still have all 30 ships operational, sir. The aliens have lost 47 vessels." Lisa Brooks shook her head in amazement. "Jake, this is incredible. We're not just holding our own, we're winning." Jake nodded, but his expression remained serious. "This is just the beginning, Lisa. Wait until they try to run." In the outer solar system near Neptune, Commander Helen Parker waited with the Deep Space Patrol. Her ships looked like exploration vessels and research platforms. The aliens had detected them weeks ago and dismissed them as harmless civilian craft. That was another mistake. Helen's ships were equipped with the most advanced cloaking technology humans had ever built. They had been watching and waiting, invisible to alien sensors. Now they prepared to spring their trap. As the first Draconian ships tried to retreat from the battle, they found their escape route blocked. Helen's fleet decloaked around them like ghosts becoming solid. The aliens were surrounded. "Unknown vessels, you are trapped," Helen broadcast to the fleeing aliens. "Surrender now, or be destroyed." The Draconians fired desperately at the human ships, blocking their path. But these vessels had the same adaptive shields as the rest of the human fleet. The alien weapons only made them stronger. War Commander Zethkar realized the terrible truth. The humans had not just been ready for this attack, they had been planning it. Every human ship, every weapon, every tactic had been designed specifically to defeat Draconian technology. His mighty conquest fleet was not fighting primitives. They were fighting an enemy that knew exactly how to destroy them. Major Chris Powell led his fighter squadron toward the alien fleet. His ships were smaller than the big warships. but they carried something the Draconians had never seen before. Chris looked at his weapon display and smiled grimly. "Ghost Squadron, this is Ghost Leader," he said into his radio. "Time to introduce our guest to nanite swarm missiles. Fire at will." 12 small missiles launched from the human fighters. They looked harmless compared to the massive plasma cannons on the alien ships. The Draconians barely noticed them coming. The first missile hit a Draconian heavy cruiser. Instead of exploding, it seemed to disappear into the ship's hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then small holes began to appear in the alien vessel's armor. War Commander Zethkar watched in confusion as the holes grew larger. "What is happening to that ship?" he demanded. Sub-Commander Vextal ran scans on the damaged vessel. What he saw made his 3 eyes widen in terror. "Commander, the ship is being eaten. Something is consuming the hull from the inside. The holes spread across the cruiser like a disease." Metal simply vanished, leaving empty space behind. Inside the ship, billions of tiny machines called nanites were breaking apart everything they touched. They turned alien metal into more nanites, which made even more nanites. Within minutes, the massive warship was gone. Not destroyed by explosion, but consumed completely. Nothing remained except empty space and a cloud of microscopic machines looking for their next target. The nanite cloud drifted toward another Draconian ship. When it touched the hull, the same process began. The second ship started dissolving, just like the first. "All ships retreat from those clouds," Zethkar ordered. But it was too late. More human missiles had found their targets. 3 more alien vessels began falling apart as nanites ate them from within. Kethmore, the Draconian science officer, worked frantically at his station. "Commander, I am trying to stop these machines, but they adapt to our countermeasures faster than we can deploy them." Each time the aliens tried something new to stop the nanites, the tiny machines learned and changed. They were designed to evolve and overcome any defense. The Draconians watched helplessly as their ships were consumed one by one. High above Earth, Commander Helen Parker coordinated the orbital defense platforms. These had been disguised as communication satellites for decades. Now they revealed their true purpose. "All platforms, this is Command," Helen said. "Begin synchronized firing sequence." Around Earth's orbit, hundreds of objects that looked like harmless satellites suddenly unfolded. Solar panels moved aside to reveal weapon arrays. Communication dishes rotated to show particle beam cannons. Antenna arrays extended into targeting systems. The platforms fired streams of accelerated particles at the alien fleet. These beams moved at nearly the speed of light and cut through Draconian shields like they were made of paper. The aliens had spent centuries perfecting defenses against plasma and laser weapons. They had no protection against accelerated matter. Alien ships began breaking apart as particle beams sliced through their hulls. The Draconians tried to target the orbital platforms, but there were too many of them scattered around Earth's orbit. "How many weapons do these humans have?" Vextal asked in despair. Zethkar had no answer. Every time they thought they understood human capabilities, something new appeared. His conquest fleet was dying, and he still did not know how. The remaining Draconian ships tried to retreat toward the edge of the solar system. They hoped to escape and warn their empire about this dangerous enemy. But Lieutenant Colonel Dan Murphy had been waiting for them. Dan commanded the Deep Space Interdiction Fleet. His ships had been disguised as exploration vessels on long-range missions. For months they had been positioned at the outer edge of the solar system, invisible to alien sensors. As the fleeing Draconians approached, Dan's fleet decloaked around them. The aliens found themselves trapped in a carefully prepared kill box with no escape. "This is Lieutenant Colonel Murphy of the Earth Defense Force," Dan broadcast to the alien ships. "You are surrounded. Surrender now, or be destroyed." The Draconians opened fire desperately. They shot everything they had at the human ships blocking their path. But these vessels also had adaptive shielding. The alien weapons only made them stronger. Dr. Beth Williams worked from a hidden station on the dark side of the moon. She was humanity's best computer expert, and she had been studying alien technology for years. Now she was putting that knowledge to use. Her fingers moved quickly over her keyboard as she hacked into the Draconian communication network. The aliens used quantum encryption, but Beth had been preparing for this. She had learned their protocols from captured alien debris. "I'm in," she said to herself with satisfaction. Beth began feeding false information into the Draconian network. She made it look like their ships were winning battles they were actually losing. She sent fake reports to their home fleet saying everything was going according to plan. The Draconian Empire would not learn the truth about what was happening at Earth until it was too late. More alien ships began to vanish completely, not destroyed by explosions or cut apart by weapons, but simply gone without a trace. The nanite clouds were growing larger as they consumed more vessels. Each ship they ate made them stronger and hungrier. Sethkar watched his fleet disappear. Around him, of his original 200 ships, fewer than 100 remained, and those numbers were dropping fast. "Commander, we must retreat," Vextal pleaded. "We cannot win this battle." But there was nowhere to run. Human ships surrounded them on all sides. The orbital platforms continued their deadly fire. The nanite clouds drifted through space, consuming everything they touched. For the first time in his long military career, War Commander Zethkar felt true fear. The humans were not defending their world. They were hunting his fleet like predators. "Stalking prey. Send a message to the Empire," he ordered. "Tell them we have encountered something beyond our understanding." But Beth Williams intercepted the message before it could be sent. She replaced it with a routine status report saying everything was normal. The Draconian Empire would continue to believe their conquest fleet was succeeding. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Morrison watched the battle with calm satisfaction. His plan was working perfectly. The aliens had expected to fight a primitive species. Instead, they had walked into a trap designed by the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. "Sir, alien ship count is down to 87, reported Ryan Clark Morrison. Nodded. "Good. Begin phase 2 of the operation. It's time to show them what we do with the survivors." Captain Steve Rogers watched from the bridge of the EDS Shadow as the battle raged around him. His ship was completely invisible to alien sensors. It had been following the Draconian fleet for 3 months without being detected once. "Sir, should we decloak and join the fight?" asked his first officer, Lieutenant Kelly Adams. Steve shook his head. "Not yet. Let me show our guests something first." He pressed a button on his command chair. "Computer, display tracking records for the past 5 years." The main screen lit up with dozens of green lines moving through space. Each line showed the path of a human stealth ship. The lines crisscrossed the galaxy, following alien fleets and recording their movements. Kelly stared at the display in amazement. "Sir, we've been watching them for years." "Not just watching," Steve replied. "Learning. Every battle they fought, every tactic they used, every weakness they showed. We recorded it all." The truth was more shocking than the aliens could imagine. Earth had not been sitting quietly, waiting to be discovered. Human ships had been secretly exploring the galaxy since the 1970s. They had found the Draconian Empire decades ago and had been studying them ever since. On the alien flagship, War Commander Zethkar was running out of options. His fleet was down to 60 ships and still shrinking. He decided to try one final desperate attack. "All remaining vessels target the human homeworld directly," he ordered. "If we cannot defeat their fleet, we will destroy their planet." Every surviving Draconian ship turned toward Earth. Their most powerful weapons charged with enough energy to crack continents. Quantum disruptors that could tear apart matter itself, prepared to fire. The attack would have worked against any normal world. But Earth was not normal. Dr. Mary Johnson sat in a command center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. She had been waiting for this moment since she was a young scientist working on theoretical physics. Now her life's work would be tested. "General Wells, the aliens are targeting Earth directly," she reported. General Patricia Wells stood behind, her watching the tactical display. "Activate the planetary defense grid, Doctor." Mary's fingers danced across her control panel. Around the world, hidden installations came online. They had been built into mountains, hidden under oceans, and disguised as research facilities. Now they revealed their true purpose. The Draconian weapons fired at Earth, beams of pure destruction shot toward the blue planet. They had enough power to melt cities and boil oceans. The beams never reached their target. Lieutenant Alex Thompson watched from his post on the Lunar Defense Station as Earth's magnetic field suddenly became visible. Blue light surrounded the entire planet like a giant bubble. The alien weapons struck this barrier and simply stopped. But that was not the most amazing part. The energy from the alien attack was absorbed by the planetary shield and then redirected back at the Draconian fleet. The aliens found themselves hit by their own weapons, but amplified to 10 times their original power. 12 more Draconian ships exploded as their own attacks destroyed them. Zethkar could not believe what he was seeing. How is this possible? They turned our weapons against us. On Earth, Mary Johnson smiled as she watched her systems work perfectly. For 40 years, human scientists had been studying ways to weaponize the planet's natural magnetic field. They had turned Earth itself into the ultimate defensive weapon. Admiral Morrison opened a communication channel to the surviving alien ships. His voice was calm and friendly, like he was talking to old friends. "Commander Zethkar, I think it's time we had a proper conversation," he said. "You seem confused about what's happening here." Zethkar's scaled face appeared on the screen. His yellow eyes were wide with fear and confusion. "What are you? How do you have this technology?" Morrison leaned back in his chair. "We're humans, Commander. We learned a long time ago that the universe is a dangerous place, so we decided to become something the universe should be afraid of instead." The truth began to pour out. Every crashed alien ship that had ever landed on Earth had been studied and reverse-engineered. Every radio signal from space had been analyzed. Every piece of strange technology had been taken apart and understood. Morrison continued speaking in his calm voice. "We've known about your empire for 60 years, Commander. We've been watching your fleets, learning your tactics, preparing for this day. Did you really think we would just sit here waiting to be conquered?" Colonel Janet Smith worked from an orbital listening post, monitoring all Draconian communications. She had been intercepting their messages for years. Now she was hearing something that made her smile. "General Wells, I'm picking up distress calls from across the galaxy," she reported. "Other Draconian fleets are reporting similar problems. Ships are vanishing throughout their empire." The terrible truth became clear. Earth had not been the only target. The Draconians had been attacking human colonies throughout the galaxy. But every single attack had met the same fate. Human settlements that looked weak and helpless had revealed devastating defenses. The Draconian Empire was not conquering humanity. They were being systematically destroyed by an enemy they had completely underestimated. Dr. Paul Martinez reviewed the battle data from his research station on Mars. The patterns were clear. Every human defense had worked exactly as planned. Decades of preparation had paid off perfectly. "The aliens never had a chance," he said to his assistant. "They thought they were hunting sheep. Instead, they walked into a pack of wolves." Back in the battle, only 47 Draconian ships remained. They were surrounded by hundreds of human vessels that had been cloaked throughout the entire fight. The aliens were completely outnumbered and outgunned. Morrison's voice came over the radio again. "Commander, you have a choice to make. You can surrender and live to warn your empire about what they're facing, or you can join the rest of your fleet in whatever happened to them." Zethkar looked around at his ruined fleet. Ships that had once been his pride were now floating debris, or had vanished completely. His mighty conquest force had been reduced to a handful of damaged vessels. "What happened to my ships?" he asked quietly. Morrison smiled, though the alien could not see it. "They're safe, Commander. We don't destroy our enemies if we don't have to. We learn from them instead. Your crews are alive, and your ships are being studied. We'll give them back when we're done understanding how they work." The alien commander realized the horrible truth. The humans had not just defeated his fleet. They had captured it. They were taking apart Draconian technology and learning all their secrets. "You're not warriors," Zethkar said with growing horror. You're something far worse. Morrison nodded. We're survivors, Commander, and we're very good at it. The question now is whether you want to survive this encounter or not. For the first time in his military career, War Commander Zethkar of the 4th Conquest Fleet prepared to surrender. War Commander Zethkar looked at his tactical display one last time. Only his flagship remained from the mighty 4th Conquest Fleet. 200 ships had become one. Around him, human vessels appeared from nowhere as they dropped their cloaking. There were hundreds of them. Commander, we are completely surrounded, Sub-Commander Vextal reported. His voice shook with fear. There are more human ships than we ever detected. Zethkar closed his yellow eyes. His entire military career had been built on the idea that the Draconian Empire was the strongest force in the galaxy. Now he knew, better. They had been living a lie. Admiral Morrison's voice came through the communication system. It was still calm and friendly, which somehow made it more frightening. Commander Zethkar, you have fought bravely, but this battle is over. Will you surrender, or do we need to take your ship by force? Zethkar looked at his crew. They were all staring at him, waiting for his decision. These aliens had destroyed his fleet without losing a single ship. Resistance was pointless. I surrender, he said quietly. Within minutes, human soldiers in strange armor materialized on his bridge. They had some kind of teleportation technology that allowed them to appear anywhere. The Draconian crew raised their hands in defeat. Captain, Julie Anderson led the boarding party. She was a tall woman with red hair and cold blue eyes. She looked at Zethkar with the same expression someone might use when studying an interesting insect. Commander, you will come with us, she said. Your crew will be treated well, but we have questions for you. Zethkar was transported to the EDS Inquisitor, a human ship designed specifically for gathering information. Dr. Paul Martinez met him in a white room filled with strange machines. Please sit down, Commander, Dr. Martinez said politely. We want to learn about your empire. The more you tell us, the better we can treat your people. The alien commander sat in a chair that was too small for his large frame. What happened to my ships? What happened to my crews? Dr. Martinez smiled. They are safe. We have special facilities where we keep captured vessels. Your people are in stasis while we study their technology. They feel no pain and experience no time passing. When we are finished learning, we will wake them up. Zethkar realized the horrible truth. The humans had not destroyed his fleet. They had captured it completely. Every ship, every crew member, every piece of technology was now in human hands. Why? He asked. Why do you need our technology if you are already so advanced? Because we never stop learning, Dr. Martinez replied. Every enemy we face teaches us something new. Every ship we capture makes us stronger. That is how humans survive. Hours passed as the doctor asked questions about Draconian military structure, fleet positions, and homeworlds. Zethkar found himself answering despite his better judgment. The humans had ways of making people want to talk. Meanwhile, Admiral Morrison was dictating a message that would change the galaxy forever. He stood on the bridge of the Defiance, looking out at Earth through the big windows. Record this message for transmission, he told Amy Johnson. Recording, sir, she replied. Morrison began to speak in his calm, measured voice. To the Draconian Empire and any other species listening to this transmission, I am Admiral Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. Your 4th Conquest Fleet came to our system today with the intention of conquering our world. They have been defeated. He paused, looking directly into the camera. Commander Zethkar will be returned to you with this message. He will tell you what he has learned here. Earth is no longer a target for conquest. We are now the center of human expansion into the galaxy. The message continued. Any species that threatens human worlds or human colonies will learn what the Draconians learned today. We do not seek war, but we will not tolerate aggression. We have been preparing for galactic contact for a very long time. We are ready. Morrison ended the recording and turned to Amy. Transmit that on all frequencies. Make sure every species in the galaxy hears it. 3 days later, Zethkar's damaged flagship limped away from Earth's solar system. The alien commander, sat on his bridge thinking about what he had seen. The humans had given him fuel, food, and basic repairs. They had been polite and professional throughout his captivity, but their final words to him had been the most terrifying thing he had ever heard. "Give our regards to your Emperor," Admiral Morrison had said. "Tell him we look forward to meeting him soon. We have so much to discuss." Zethkar knew what that meant. The humans were not going to wait for the next attack. They were coming to visit the Draconian homeworlds. And when they arrived, they would not be coming as conquerors. They would be coming as the new dominant species in the galaxy. As his ship traveled through hyperspace toward home, Zethkar tried to compose his report to the Emperor. How could he explain that the mighty Draconian Empire had just encountered something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined? Back at Earth, General Patricia Wells stood in her command center, reviewing reports from across human space. The truth was even more incredible than Zethkar suspected. "General, all human colonies report successful defense," Colonel Janet Smith announced. "The Draconian attacks on our outer worlds have been repelled. Total enemy losses, 837 ships, human losses 0. Patricia nodded with satisfaction. Every human settlement in the galaxy had been prepared for this day. What looked like peaceful farming colonies and research stations had actually been military fortresses in disguise. Dr. Kevin Taylor approached with a data pad. "General, our deep space reconnaissance fleets report they are ready for the next phase. We have complete maps of Draconian space and detailed intelligence on their military capabilities." The truth was revealed at last. For decades, human ships disguised as cargo vessels and exploration craft had been mapping the entire galaxy. They knew where every alien fleet was located. They knew the positions of every enemy stronghold. They had been preparing for this war since before it started. Admiral Morrison joined them in the command center. He looked tired but satisfied. "How long until our fleets can reach Draconian space?" 18 months, Dr. Taylor replied. "Our new faster-than-light drives will get us there before they can rebuild their forces." Morrison nodded. "Good. It's time the galaxy learned that humanity is no longer hiding. We've spent enough time being the prey, now we hunt." Outside, Earth looked peaceful and blue, floating quietly in space. But appearances were deceiving. The planet was now the headquarters of the most dangerous military force the galaxy had ever seen. Humanity had been underestimated for the last time. The Draconian fleet had vanished because they had encountered something they never expected. They had found a species that turned every attack into a lesson, every enemy into a teacher, and every defeat into an opportunity to grow stronger. The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.